Good afternoon. Thanks for everybody for being here. Much needed win on Saturday night on the road at TCU. We've got a lot of respect for Gary and his staff, and that's they've done a great job with that venue too. And it's a tough place to go into and win. Gary's won most of his home games there, and so really proud of our staff, our players. Really not only for the outcome, but just our response over the last 2 weeks. I think it's been really positive. Definitely our most consistent performance of the year. I think if you look at the keys to the win, okay, so why? I think there's three real clear reasons why we won the game. Number one is turnover margin. We had three takeaways, and I really feel like they all three were takeaways. I thought we created those. Daryl Porter steps in front and snatches the ball on his pick. Charles Woods made an aggressive play on his interception, and then Sean Mahone rips the ball out. And then zero turnovers on offense. So I think that's the first key is turnover margin. Second one was rushing. Um, we ran the ball for 229 yards. They ran it for 149. We averaged 5.6 yards per carry. They averaged 4.4. And then the third thing, which is sometimes overlooked, but it can't be when they're explosive as they are on offense, is we ran 70 plays. They ran 60, and then we had the ball for 35 minutes. They had it for 24, which it's really about third and fourth downs. We were able to convert at a higher rate than they were, and so thus we had the ball longer. Thus we had more plays, and so I think those are the keys. Reviewing the game on special teams, Casey Legg, I was proud of him for getting rewarded by the Big 12. He's been outstanding all year on field goals, and he saved us with his kickoffs. We did several specialty kicks after they returned the one. Overall special teams, I was disappointed that we did not kind of meet our standards there. The opening kickoff, we were not very good on our own kickoff return. I thought we had a chance on the one after we made them re-kick, and we didn't do as good a job as we should have. We missed two opportunities for pooch punts. We just not a clean game there. Defensively, I think Jordan and Shadon and really our entire staff thought we had a great plan. We limited a very, very good offense. You're talking about a team that was one of the top rushing teams in the country. They were 1, 2, or 3 in almost every statistical category in the Big 12 coming into it. Only allowed 10 points on defense and 0 in the second half. And so 3 takeaways, like I talked about. Thought our rush defense was solid. We knew it wasn't going to be a deal where we were going to shut out the run. The two running backs, their offensive line, they've done a really good job. Kind of building that offensive line up over the 3 years we've been here. I think they're really good, and the two running backs, Evans is special, and the other one, Miller, is really good as well. And I thought our tackling and our communication was at a much higher level than it was the previous 2 games. Offensively, it's the best rhythm we've had. 0 turnovers, very few negative plays. Then we had a sack, and now the sack was a big one because we had a touchdown if we could have gotten it off. But very few TFLs in the game. Thought our O-line played the best game, our interior 3 especially. I thought Gamitter, who's kind of under the radar, been a really solid player for us all year. Frazier's played at a high level, and then Nestor played his best game. Our rushing attack, we were physical. Mathis gave us a big lift. I was excited for him and excited for all of us. He gave us 20-something plays. And the other thing too that gets overlooked a little bit is 0 3 and outs. Obviously we've got to get better at scoring touchdowns in the red zone. That for the type of production we had by drive, that game should have been in the mid 30s or mid 30s, low 40s. If we're scoring touchdowns. Kind of go over our weekly awards. Y'all saw them yesterday. We released them, but I'll kind of tell you the why. Obviously, Casey Legg was our special teams. He 3 or 4 field goals, had a 49-yarder, had 6 kickoffs, and they only had eight total return yards on his 6 kickoffs. And that's something that was big. Defense player of the week, Charles Woods for us. His stats speak for himself. Had 2 big plays. I was probably as proud. They hit him on an explosive pass in the second quarter, and he was able to bounce back and played at a high level. Letty was our offensive player of the week. 24 carries, 111 yards, I think is what he had. And I thought he did a really nice job in protection as well. It wasn't a game that really set up for him to be a real threat in the pass game because we needed his help with the ends. And so and I thought unselfishly he did that and carried the ball and really had a good week. Our offensive lineman of the week was Zach Frazier. He graded out 91% and had 63 production points. He's just played really well. I'm excited not only for this year for him, but the future as well. A couple other awards we give that are kind of program type awards. Our blue collar award, we give one to offense and one to defense. These are guys that do the work behind the scenes that maybe don't make the splash plays, but offensively, Michael Laughlin, he was really good. I thought he was a key force in the run game. Caught 4 balls. Thought he was good after the catch. Defensively was Josh Chandler. He graded out 87% and had 12 solos and 4 assists. And then he had a huge 4th down TFL. And he's played good football all year. And then our scout team players were Marquand Rucker, Comasius Mosby, and Caleb Coleman. And so Rucker, West Virginia guy, he's done a tremendous job for us all year on the scout team. And then Mosby's a great program kid, and Caleb Coleman is somebody that's really come along that I like his future here. So that was the awards. Kind of flipping over here to Iowa State. I think we're catching them playing their best football of the year. They're a team that gets better, and much has been said about their October record. But it was a big win on Saturday versus Oklahoma State for them. A lot of respect for what Coach Campbell and his staff have done there. Looking at them special teams, they're very sound in all phases. Their kicker that transferred in, he's got a lot of touchbacks, which is something that, the fewer kicks you have to cover, the better your chances are going to be. And he's kicked a lot of them out of the end zone. And they do a nice job with their kickoff return. And obviously that was something that got exposed from us the other day. And they're a threat. They haven't returned many this year, but in the past, just playing against them and scouting them, I know that's something they do a good job. Offensively, they do a really nice job with their scheme. They're a little bit unique in how they play, as far as having 2 tight ends they play a lot, and a fullback they play. They have answers. It's a veteran group. If you look on offense and defense, I think of the guys that play, on offense, I counted 8 seniors and 4 juniors with 1 sophomore. And if you look at all their key players, we talk about Brock Purdy. He's a senior. He's heady. He's a really good runner. Does a nice job, especially once they get down the red zone with that. The ball gets out of his hand fast. He hurts you on third downs. That's where he was really effective versus us last year. He scrambled around. He's a senior. Brees Hall is a junior. And he's been productive for all 3 years. You're talking about a guy that's probably in the Heisman Trophy race. He was last year. He's playing his way into it this year. And then the tight ends, Kohler and Allen, those guys are good blockers, but they're threats in the passing game. And then the Hutchinson kid is the leading receiver in the league. And they target him a lot, and he makes a lot of contested catches. And their O-line really comes off the ball. They're physical. And I think they do a really good job as a cohesive unit, doing what they're asked to do. You look at defensively, unique scheme. Maybe not as unique as it once was, because there's, in our profession, there's a lot of copycats, and there's a lot of people that are copying what they do. But they're the whole premise of it is to get 8 eyes where they see you at all times. So nothing's easy. It's a veteran group. First of all, it's a veteran defensive coordinator that has answers, doesn't get rattled. Very seldom do you have success with the same play twice. And it's a veteran group that you look at it, 7 seniors, 2 juniors, 2 sophomores. And both sophomores have been playing. This is their second year playing. So it's a group that, I was laughing the other day, there's some guys on that defense that have been playing longer than some of our coaches have been coaching. They've been over there for a long time. But I think for them, to me, the scheme gets talked about and how they play 3 safeties. But what makes them great on defense, and what's made them great really since I've been in the league, even before that, is their defensive line. They've got, at minimum 2 NFL players up there. McDonald is as good a pass rusher as in our league. I don't want to have an opportunity to mess up 58's name, but he is a load. His presence was definitely felt against us last year. And then Rose, At linebacker, he's special. You know, he gives them the unique ability where he can play coverage, he can get in the box. You know, he's a defense player of the year last year and for a reason, and he's playing at that level again. And their secondary, you know, I think Young and Eisworth, they've played a lot of snaps back there. They're very good against the run, make it difficult to get over their heads. So just a defense that's playing well, you know, and they've been, you know, nationally to top in a lot of categories for several years now. And so huge challenge for us. Guys are excited. We're glad to get back home. Feels like we haven't been here for a really long time. So I know it's been over a month. You know, hopefully our fans will show up in big numbers and then have a good Halloween. You know, that's the plan. We need them. And there's plenty of reasons to be here. You know, it's a great college football game, Hall of Fame inductions, and so there's a lot of reasons to be here. And my hope is they'll show up and support our guys. So with that, I'll take questions.
So Neal, making observations from the press box can be dangerous, at least stating them as fact. But two things that appear to me: that you simplified your offensive playbook a little bit, and then you streamlined maybe your play calling aspect and how you did those things. Am I right? And if so, explain that.
I don't know if we simplified. We just went in with a real intentionality to run the football, and we did a much better job not getting in bad down and distances. You know, when you get off schedule, man, it really makes it hard. And so we just had an intentional measure to really go and run the football. Thought we had some good answers. You know, to do that, you know, once we had good counters off their counters, if that makes sense. As far as the streamlining, you know, it really not much different than it has been. I thought our kids just play with a lot of confidence too. I think that's something that gets overlooked a little bit. They played loose, you know, and I thought we executed at a higher level than we have.
You have a lot of voices you can access. Conceiving plans, executing plans, even as far as calling plays. Anybody, anything different?
As far as did the game?
People you leaned on or people you used or switched around?
You talking about in the game or like leading into the game, Mike?
How about both?
Yeah, you know, I've got a group of offensive people that I talk to a lot. You know, none that I'm going to necessarily mention in this forum, but I think you have a group, you know, professionally that you lean on. You know, I got some people that from a head coaching perspective, from an offense perspective, I lean on. And when you have a bye week, you talk to those people more, you know, because some of them are retired, some of them are out, you know, so it gives you a little bit more time. We've got a lot of really good resources within the building. You know, I think that we had, you know, going back to what Greg said, is were we simpler? We probably had, you know, I kind of skipped over that part. That's probably yes, you know, but more not necessarily from a play standpoint. Just we were more centered on the schemes, right? That we were gonna go into it with, and then the end game piece. You know, Jared probably. Had the way that's set up at TCU, like that's a really good press box situation, and him and Sean Reagan are up there, and they had a really good feel, and so they both had a big say in what we were doing. So it's high, like, it's got plenty of room. I mean, it's nice. If y'all were there, y'all can back it up. It's a nice place, isn't it?
Did you see any indication that this was coming, what you saw on Saturday?
You know, he's been playing better. He's gotten more comfortable. You know, it's you know, with transfers, so he stepped up a level of competition. You know, so the speed, there's a little bit of speed, and then and he's getting more comfortable in our scheme. You know, he got here in the summer. Summer's different though, because you can't work with him really as far as schematics. You know, he got in shape and all that kind of stuff. But you other than a meeting, you know, whatever it is, 2 hours a week or whatever they allow you to have, there's not a whole lot of else you can learn. So you could see him getting better. And the other thing is we played him more. Like we played him more against Baylor, and he's taking advantage of that opportunity. And then when Nick Troy got injured, he was thrust in there, and I thought, and we talk about that a lot. It's like, okay, you get your opportunity. What do you do with it, right? Well, he made the most of his. Like he obviously had the fumble recovery and the interception, but he also played. He just played well. Covered the guys. And so credit to him. But he was prepared and he's practiced better. John.
Speaking of injuries, any updates on those guys?
Nah, we'll know. It's their leg injury, so it's just you kind of wait and see. We had three go down. I think two of them will be kind of Saturday calls, and then Akeem's fine. He practiced yesterday. The other two kind of go down to the weekend. That's kind of what it is. Nah, yeah, we just cross train them. We got numbers issues in the secondary. I mean, it kind of is what it is. It's like we'll get rough and ready, and Jackie's got some flexibility. Scotty's got some flexibility. As far as playing spear and safety, and if Nick Troy can't go, we'll make it work.
Psychologically, team beat you bad the year before, maybe 2 years before, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How does that affect the way you prepare for a game, and how does it affect the team? How do you keep it?
Yeah. I'll say this in a nice way, like this age group that we deal with, shit, they don't remember that. Like, I don't remember last week. I don't mean that bad, but that was a long time ago. Last year was that performance was what it was. And I can sit up here, I can give you a lot of reasons why it happened. And the first half of it, we weren't far away. We missed a couple field goals, and we let them convert on. I think they had not let them. They made the plays, but there was I think it was first and goal at the 26, and they ended up scoring a touchdown right before half, and we just didn't play very well. We had a bunch of COVID issues going into that game. They didn't show up until Thursday after practice. I mean, like I said, I can list a bunch of reasons why, but the bottom line is they really physically dominated both line of scrimmages. When it comes down to it, that's what happened. In 19, when we played, which seems like forever ago, we actually played pretty decent defensively. And our quarterback got hurt on the first series, and that's kind of what it was. We had a good drive, and then he got hit, and Austin was out, and so I don't put a lot of. I haven't gone back and studied that one a whole lot, but last year obviously we have, and that's something we really worked. From a physicality standpoint and strength standpoint, it's something that was a focal point for us in the 9 months leading up to the season because of that game.
Makes you feel any better? Gumiter did tweet last year's score.
Yeah, so he remembered. Yeah, he's older, he's mature, he's married, got a kid.
Neal, inside, in-game communication, just how it works a little bit. I mean, do you have to cut people off because you get too many voices on the headsets?
Nah.
What's the confusion level?
No.
Things
So we got two channels, Greg. So basically the interior people talk on one channel, and then Jared and I talk on the other.
Is it easier to do a scouting report when you've got so many guys that you're aware of? I mean, you basically transfer names from one year to the next when you're dealing with these guys.
Yeah. I don't think once you get in league play, John, unless it's a new staff, I don't think there's a whole lot of secrets. Because you got your off season and summer breakdowns, and most staffs do that. So I don't think that we're necessarily surprising them or they're going to surprise us.
But, I mean, your Spears know what they got to deal with those tight ends. The unique things that they do. They played against him for 3 years.
Well, that's the schemes that they're doing are not necessarily unique. It's how they get to them. The shifts, the motions. They add an extra gap. Sometimes there are a lot of similarities between Baylor, except Baylor does less pre-snap, adjustments probably.
Would you say that second half is probably the best you've seen the defense play all year, except maybe against Oklahoma?
The first half with Oklahoma was up there too, but they only played they played very few snaps against Oklahoma in the first half. Yeah, I thought that we flew around. I thought we played with a lot of energy. that was our most consistent defensive performance. From first quarter on. If you think about it, like, so we played good defense in spots until that game, and so if you go back, our third quarter against Maryland, we played really really well. And you go back to Long Island, that's what that was. But if you go to Virginia Tech, we played really good defense for three quarters, but fourth quarter we didn't. Oklahoma, 3 good quarters. Fourth quarter, not so much. And then at Baylor, and none of it was good. And then this game, we played a complete game, which is the first time going back probably to the TCU and the Kansas State games. Well, Army we played well. But in league games, those 2 games last year.
Something you said during the halftime that you could kind of sense like a second half shutout brewing. I mean,
No.
did they really come out?
I'd love to sit here and tell you all that these pregame speeches and postgame or halftime speeches really matter, but it really just comes down to execution. And I thought that our energy was really good. I thought our response when they made a couple big plays, because they still had some good gains there. Johnson made a couple plays. Evans broke out a couple chunk runs, but I thought our responses were better than what they have been in some of the earlier games.
You go into that game thinking you might play the 5 offensive linemen every snap, or
Well, that was our plan unless something happened. Yeah, that was our plan unless something happened. We got 7 that we feel good about that have played for us this year. But based on just performance and how practice went, we went in thinking that we'd play 5. And that's we were having success. So that's kind of what we stuck with.
So what about Milam following up on Bub's story?
Yeah, he played well. He made some couple. I mean, he's still a true freshman playing, so he made some mistakes. But that was the best game he's played, and he was going against a really good player. And I thought 2 really good defensive ends, and I thought he competed. He battled. I thought he overcame his negative plays better than he has. He didn't dwell on him. He played the next one, and so yeah, really, I thought that was a really positive experience for him, and we just need to keep getting him better.
Just going back to that initial question I asked about the people you talked to and all that, and Sean and Jared. Do those conversations, tweaks, whatever, do those align with better play, or does they somehow affect or create better play? Do you think?
No, it's one of those things that when things are going good, there's less communication, right? when things aren't going bad, when things are not going as good, that's when it's because you're searching, right? And I'm not trying to simplify a process. I'm really not. It's basically Sean's in the box and he's got he looks primarily pass game. Jared handles it, as a play caller, and then we have a GA up top that helps Coach Moore, who's on the sideline, and then Chad has a piece of it, and then we use Trickett to signal, and so that's kind of how it is. There's a lot of conversation in between series, but during the series, there's comments made, but it's not. The interior people are talking on one channel, and then Jared and I handle the communication on the other channel.
How big was that for Letty? Not just to get a 100-yard game and 3 touchdowns, but also the big run late to help kind of ice the game away and seal the win.
Yeah, he's practiced well. That was his best game running the football too. He didn't press. Even we had a couple 1-2 yard gains early. He didn't get frustrated. Kind of played through it. And that was the most disciplined with his eyes he's been. And so happy. And again, Tony Mathis came in and gave him some quality snaps where he felt okay, taking a break, which hadn't been the case up until this point this year.
Talking to people from years past with this defense, they always talk about valuing the 5 and 6 yard gains against this defense. Is that the way you go about it, the way you look at it, take what you can get?
Yeah, we'll take a 5-yard gain versus all of them, but against them,
Don't hunt for the big plays.
Well, what you have to do against them is you got to eliminate the negative plays. Where they really feast on you is when they get you in second and long, third and longs. They make it really difficult, and because they can do a couple things. That's their pressure, which they did a nice job versus Oklahoma State, or they drop 8, which there's a bunch of tight windows. Makes it really hard. And they give you the impression, because they play a light box, that there's going to be run room, but that's not the case. That's an illusion, because they slam those big defensive ends inside. Nose is a really good player, and they got 4 linebackers. It looks like there's 1, but they can get 4 in the box really, really fast. And so, you just got to do a really good job on first and second down, staying in manageable distance.
Obviously intrigued about the in-game communication today, but obviously
there's been a lot of communication.
A fun subject to
Yeah.
write about.
Well, we took away the road, so we can't talk about that now.
Exactly. Got to find something.
Scored some points second half. All right,
head coaches seem to have 2 different ways of doing it. NFL model seems to be the head coach is sort of away from the play calling. College may be in. More involved. Your thoughts on how you work it?
I don't. We probably should look at the NFL. There's a bunch of those calling plays. You know what I mean? And I just think it's kind of what works. I think people find kind of their own deal. Sometimes, and this is not taking anything away from anybody, but sometimes the end game calls is not really where it's at. It's the really the planning, not only the planning but the selling of the plan during the week, that sometimes is more important than actually the calls. Now the calls, there's a right time and a wrong time to call plays, and people, they're going to have good days of that and bad days of it, and times where they work and sometimes they don't, right? And but I think it's kind of a feel for everybody. I don't know, Greg, but the NFL, I'm sitting there thinking there's a bunch of guys calling the plays in the NFL too, which I don't think there's a lot of different ways to skin it. I don't think there's one way that's better than the other necessarily.
After what happened against Baylor the first time while you're giving up more than 30 points, you get the sense, especially with that second half shot, the defense has its swagger back now going to the rest of the season.
Yeah, if you look at it, so they were hurt, disappointed, however you want to say it, about the performance, right? And probably watching the film and understanding that the response, just wasn't good enough. Gave up the big play early, and then the second drive, another easy touchdown, and I don't know I don't know when the last time we started a game where it was 1, 2, 3 touchdowns. You know what I mean? And so that's where we talked about owning it last week, and my whole point with them was okay, we made some mistakes. Our alignment, our communication, but the biggest issue is, man, we didn't respond. And so they own that. They repaired it. After the kickoff, that was probably the best thing for me as a head coach is we gave up the opening kickoff. Not that we wanted to, all right, but it gave us an immediate. I told the guys on the headset. I told them, clicked over on defense, and I said, hey, all right, here's the deal. We wanted adversity. Didn't want it to be first play, but here it is. So how do we respond? And I thought they came out and really handled it well.
Hutchinson, ask real quick. Hutchinson, he's had a heck of a career, and he had 12 catches last week. Yeah. What do you see from him, real quickly?
He catches the ball. He really does. I think he uses his body extremely well. He makes a lot of contested catches. And what I mean by that, with defenders on him, he makes more of those than probably anybody in our league. And they do a nice job of moving him around. If you look at their targets, it's him, separation down to Kohler, and then you got Allen and Hall. Those are the guys that are getting the most receptions by far. But he's a really good player. He really is. I got a lot of respect for how he plays, just because he finds ways to get open. And I think he knows his game, and that's how he plays. He stays within the framework of who he is. So, all right, guys, thank y'all.